Hello, my name is Nicole. I'm from Austria. I'm 25 years old and I'm an only child. I grew up in a family where my dad was very into the faith and my mom was not really. My dad always took me to church as a child and I was quite involved in the local church community. I, like everyone else, made my first Holy Communion and confirmation. When I was 13, I stopped going to church because all of my friends had stopped going too. During that time, I became involved in a far left-wing movement and I was far away from the church. I also got involved in the socialist movement. I learned a lot about personalities who were important in the socialist world and got to know a lot of politicians. That's also the reason why I studied political science as my bachelor degree later on. When I finished secondary school at 19, I started working as a school secretary. One of my work colleagues was part of an evangelical church, and she always invited me to different church activities, but I didn't go. She would pray for me when I didn't feel well. I found it a bit strange that someone wanted to pray for me. It was also my first experience of charismatic prayer, but I allowed her to pray with me because I had a little hope that it could help. Through her missionary activities, I became interested in the church. As I was interested in travel also, I researched pilgrimage opportunities abroad and ended up going to the same meeting in Poland with a Catholic group over New Year. I was deeply touched by the hospitality of local Polish families while I was there, and overall I found the trip enjoyable. I found myself enjoying chanting the hymns and entering into prayer. I was intrigued by different Christian churches and so attended an evangelical church service my colleague invited me to when I returned home. Following this, nothing really significant happened in my faith journey for more than a year. The following year, a few weeks before Easter, I saw a TikTok video from a girl from an evangelical church, and she asked, "Who defines himself as a Christian?" And I commented that I'm a Christian in Greetings from Austria. Another girl, who was coincidentally from my area, texted me asking if I wanted to come to different activities by a Catholic community called Loreto. She invited me several times, but I always said I had no time. However, the week before Easter, I had nothing to do, and so I texted her that I would come to one of the events, which was an evening of mercy. I wasn't sure what it was. When I arrived, I was very skeptical, but I observed from the other side of the street all the people who were going into the church. After seeing lots of young people, I met up with this girl and we went into the church together. The Blessed Sacrament was exposed and beautiful worship music was playing. This was my first experience of adoration. I didn't fully understand why people were kneeling in front of the altar, but I just did what I saw the others do and kneeled down also. After a while of observing, I noticed that nearly everyone was going to confession, and I really didn't want to. However, after some time, I felt compelled to go to, so I joined the queue and read through an examination of conscience. After this small preparation, I tried my best to make a good confession to the priest. Afterwards, I really experienced what I can only describe as a lot of inner peace and happiness. I just knew that something really unbelievable had happened in my heart, and I knew this was not just in my mind. I think that was my very first personal encounter with the Lord, where I really experienced Him as a loving Father. 2 days later, I got COVID and had time to ponder what had happened. I watched loads of testimonies online. After watching many testimonies, I really felt convicted that the encounter I had with the Lord was real and that the grace of the sacrament of reconciliation is real also. 1 week later, I wanted to know more about God, and so I applied for a program for students in lockdown who wanted to live in Dissay in France, and I had the opportunity to go to Dissay for 1 month to do some personal prayer and development. I really deepened my friendship with the Lord, learned about Him, and also found one of my first Christian friends. When I was in Dissay, I heard about Medjugorje, and I had the opportunity to go there on a pilgrimage and learn about Our Lady. When I returned home, I went to visit the Loreto community, the same community that had organized the Evening of Mercy, where I encountered the Lord, and I shared with them how through God's grace my faith journey started. Loreto is a Catholic community inspired by Medjugorje and founded in Vienna, Austria. The charisms are Marianic, Charismatic, Ecumenic, and Catholic. It is a community which consists of lay people, religious, and priests. The community has their own community priests who are very involved in the local Loreto prayer groups. If you are part of the community, you have to make an annual community promise, where you promise that you serve in the Loreto community and in the church as best as you can. I spoke to a lot of people at the local Loreto prayer group and attended weekly meetings. And then, after a few months, the question from some community members came up if I would like to be part of their community. At first I was not so sure, because this promise is serious, and I have never been part of a community before. But after a time of discernment, I had the impression that I should just try it out and go into the apostolate of Loreto community. This prepared me to become a community member. In this preparation time, I learned a lot about the sacraments and the spirituality of Loreto. After 1 year of preparation, I joined the community and served in different apostolates, like the prayer team, and where I learned prayer ministry and charismatic prayer, and the welcome team, where I learned about hospitality, how to open the doors for other people, and how to create an atmosphere where people feel welcomed. In the community, we have home groups. These are groups of 5 to 7 people who meet every 3 weeks or every month at one person's home. This person prepares a meal and invites the whole group to his house, which makes it very personal. Everyone could share something that best fits their spirituality, for example, rosary, Bible reflection, or worship music. While being an active member of the Loreto community, I got to know the Family of Mary order, the same order that Father Patrick and Father Tadeo are part of. There I felt immediately caught by the deep spirituality they had, and I noticed that it was something that really struck me. When I went to this house, I always felt the Holy Spirit was working. Every adoration and every Mass I attended was very reverent and special. I built up friendships with the young people, and I attended the smaller monthly youth meetings and also the big ones, which I really enjoyed. I think I also grew much closer to the sacraments during that time. When I was on a Family of Mary retreat, I shared a room with a girl who spent 2 years at Holy Family Mission, and she told me what it was all about. At first I thought this is something that is not for me, but after a while I discerned it more and more and had a deeper passion that I should apply. After the interview process, I got accepted, and here I am. During my time here in Holy Family Mission, I have grown much closer to the Lord. I have learned a lot about community life, and I have made really great friendships. I also have become aware of my strengths and weaknesses much more clearly, because when you live in such close proximity to other people, you come to know yourself, your gifts and talents much better. Thank you for listening to my testimony. Our faith is meant to be shared, and I'm testimony of what can happen through someone's simple invitation to come along to a Catholic event. I promise I'll keep you in my prayers.